Hey, Divine Ones, it's Jerome Braggs of JeromeBraggs.com and coming to you for the first live Facebook of the new year. So, Happy New Year. I know we're almost a week, full week into the new year, but I needed to take kind of the first week of the year to kind of rest and kind of ground the energy of the new year into my being. But I'm glad to be here with you all, and I have a lot I want to share with you today. But I wanted to take this time to really share with you just a couple of the lessons that I had from my own personal life in 2018, and hopefully that you'll be able to get something out of these lessons for your own life. And also give you a kind of a heads up of what you can expect from me in 2019. 2018 was kind of a withdrawal, a drawback kind of year. I didn't really produce or put out much, and there's a reason for that, and I'll be talking about that in this video. But 2019 is very different. I'm going to actually be doing a lot more and be offering you all a lot more and putting out a lot more. So I'm going to give you kind of a heads up about what you can be expecting, at least some of what you can be expecting from me this year in this video. So to kind of give you a little bit of background about what last year. In 2016, I worked on my new website and I launched it on New Year's Day of 2017. So the first day of the year was scheduled the launch of my website last year. And on New Year's Day of 2017, I woke up, and as soon as I opened my eyes, literally into the new year, as soon as I opened my eyes, I got a downloaded message from Source, from my higher self, or from my guides. If you know me, I channel sometimes a part of my higher self called the Beloveds, and I got a very clear message from that part of my consciousness that even though I had literally just kind of pressed launch on my website, that everything that I had put out on my website was not what I was going to be doing. And none of the events. I mean, when I press launch on my web, and you can kind of see because I left it up, so you can even see it on the website now. I had a year-long program that I was going to be launching called Soul Class. I had a whole bunch of live events that I had scheduled for 2017. A lot of classes and things that I had planned. And I got the message, the intuitive message, very clearly that I needed to pull back from all of that, and that that I was going to be shown why. And I didn't know why at the time, but I think the message said to pull back from all that, to not go forward with trying to do those live events, to not try to offer the soul class, and to not even really promote my website as much, which I really didn't do a lot of last year. If you kind of noticed, I wasn't my page, and none of the things I did was kind of heavy with like, go to my website. It wasn't really heavy with that. And there was a reason for that, and that was because I got a very strong message the day I launched my website that my work was going to be changing. And my message was going to be changing, and I was going to get some new wisdom and new perspective in 2017 that would be the core center of my work, and I would understand it, as time went by. Now, at that time, I was kind of pissed because even though I'm a very big proponent of trusting the soul or trusting spirit and all that, but at that moment I was kind of pissed because I had spent all this money for this website. I was very excited about putting it out. I'd finally gotten it. But I was like, wait a minute, why couldn't we have done that beforehand so that this didn't have to come out? But I understand now. Now I understand. A year later, I understand exactly why I needed to take a step back, and why, instead of trying to do a lot with that I was trying to put out, to step back and get new wisdom, because I learned a lot last year, a lot more about what loving ourselves really is, what it really takes. I learned a lot about something that I didn't have words for, although I had some experiences around, but I didn't have words for, really around the effect of trauma and the effect of life force energy on the healing of ourselves and on the well-being of our lives. That really came through last year as well. And so for a large part of my year, my 2017 was really about trusting and surrendering that stepping back was the right thing to do. Trusting in the guidance that I got on the first day of the year, that I needed to take a step back, that I need to just share, my wisdom and share what I was learning in the meantime, and what had learned, in the meantime, and just trust that I was going to be okay. Because this also meant that I didn't work as much. I did still see some clients, but the large portion of my income would have come from a lot of the events that I was going to do, a lot of the classes I was going to offer, a lot of stuff I had planned, and I had to really trust that, really trust in what my soul was telling me to do, was really calling me to do, and then trust that I was going to be okay. Like I was going to be financially okay, that I was going to be able to take care of myself, that my bills were going to be paid, that I was going to be able to live and do some of the things that I enjoy doing. And it was just a deep dive, another deep dive. If you've been following me for a while, I've talked a lot about trust and surrender, but it was another deep dive into that practice of really trusting in what was coming in from inside of me, what the wisdom that was coming through me instead of necessarily to me. In surrendering and allowing my higher self to take the leading leg in the guidance of my life. And I did that, and I am really, really, really glad that I did. I cannot tell you the amount of knowing and understanding and shifts that I had last year, and how my message is very clear to me now. And I'm very clear about how different it is from what I was going to do, what I would have been doing then, had I been following there, and what I would have been sharing. And again, those elements, those pieces of life force energy and trauma, and some of the other elements that I got really reshaped what the message that I'm here to kind of offer you, and the work that I'm here to help you with. And it really shifted the whole direction, really, of my work. So that was kind of the first part of what happened for me in 2017. The other part was I was diagnosed earlier last year, and I kind of didn't. I was internally going through a lot of this, so I talked a little bit about it, but you probably didn't know the details of it. But I was diagnosed last year early on with a thyroid issue. And it kind of came out of nowhere, and the doctors couldn't really figure out what was going on and why it was happening. And actually nothing that they were doing as far as treatment wise was helping me. It wasn't getting better, or even treating it really with medicine. And so, as you know, I know that all things in the body are reflections of something that's going on in our energy, in our vibration, that the body is not just betraying you, is not doing something just on its own out of left field, that is actually reflecting, it's sending you a message, it's an indicator basically of your internal state, like a belief you're holding, or mostly a vibration that you're holding and you're offering out, and it's reflecting that. And so I went in deeply and kind of looked at what was going on, and what I realized around this, which helped me heal the thyroid issue, which was I had been living a life. There was a lot of situations in my life that were draining my life force energy that I wasn't aware of. And if you've been following me last year, I talked a lot about life force energy and protecting your life force energy and honoring your life force energy. A large reason for that is I was learning all of this as I was going, not just from my past experiences, but also I was having a deeper understanding of this through this experience. Because what I learned, so one of the things that was happening with the thyroid issue was that I was becoming very tired. I had really, really, really strong fatigue. And again, your external symptoms, your physical symptoms, are a reflection of an internal cause. So there is something internally, energetically, that where I'm like, so I had to look at, where am I feeling tired inside, right? Not just in my body, but where energetically am I feeling tired? And what can I do to feel, more vibrant and rested and well? And what I found out was a lot of the relationships that I was in, some work relationships that I was in, some personal friendships that I had, and even some intimate relationships, like dating relationships that I was having, were requiring me to spend way more emotional energy out. So I was pouring energy out than I was getting in. Like there were a lot of relationships that I was in where it was literally like I was pulling people up. Like I was using my energy to pull people up, and there was nobody like I didn't have a balance where I had an equal amount of people supporting me and lifting me up. So I was being drained and depleted of my internal energy. And this is what happens a lot. So I know a lot of you all who follow me, especially if you're a type of healer or a teacher, this happens a lot with us, especially empaths. But especially if you're a healer or a teacher, because your energy as a healer attracts people who need healing. That's just kind of how the law works. If you are a doctor, you're going to attract people who are sick. If you work with helping people, like your work in the world is I help people build wealth, then you're going to attract people who need help with their finances, right? And expanding their wealth. So the stuff that my work is around healing. So I attracted a lot of people into my life that needed help, and they were looking for help from me. And so anytime we would hang out, it was always like I was helping them. I was expending energy. It wasn't just us spending time together or connecting just for the joy of it. It was always me pouring out into somebody. And this is the thing with energy, right? I've talked a lot about life force energy, but this is the thing about life force energy. When you spend it out, you have to get not just an equal amount in, but you've got to get more than what you poured out back somehow. And I was not doing that. I didn't have a place where, I was using my relationships. I was thinking that my relationships were where I was getting my energy from, like I was being poured into. But actually, even though I loved being around these people, so this is something else. Again, these weren't people who were I didn't enjoy spending time with, or that I didn't really like to be around. These were people I really loved and I enjoyed being around. It was just that the energy exchange between us two was not balanced, right? And it wasn't just one relationship. I had several of these again. So the energy relationship and energy exchange between the two of us was not balanced. I was giving out way more of myself. And I'm not talking about money or anything like that. Literally just the emotional energy of giving advice, of them always coming with a problem and me always having to kind of fix or solve the problem. And a lot of the relationships that I was in, there wasn't an equal balance for that. So they never had anything to offer for me. I was always offering something to them. And so other than just their presence, but when I was in their presence, I had to pour out. Like I was giving advice, I was fixing things, I was doing that. And then that left me feeling depleted. And I wasn't paying a lot of attention to that for a few years because, again, I enjoyed being around those people, and I thought, and I wasn't paying attention to that until the thyroid issue came up, and I had to really look at, okay, what. So again, this is a really good thing for all of you all who may be experiencing some type of illness or disease. Talk to your illness, speak to it, like with loving, compassionate kindness. Ask it, not what is it trying to teach you? Because this is something, I want to just take a moment to speak to this because this is something that I really get on my clients about and really help them change this perspective because it's really not true. I know even in spiritual circles and New Age and New Thought communities, a lot of times they will say, what is this trying, instead of why is this happening to me, what is this trying to teach me? But when you really understand the soul and you understand who you are as an expression and a manifestation of God, of source energy itself, of love, frequency itself, you know this, there's nothing incomplete about you. There's nothing missing from you. There's nothing that needs to be fixed or righted about you. So one of the very things about being taught is it means that there's something that is missing from you that needs to be added to you. Right? There's something you need to know that you don't know, and you cannot expand until you know this thing. And as a piece of God energy, as source energy in a physical body, there's nothing that you do not, like there's not something that needs to be added unto you. There's nothing that you need to learn in order to graduate to another level or go to. There's nothing that there's things you need to remember. There's things about your being that you need to remember and you need to embody more. But life is not trying to teach you anything. It's trying to remind you of something, and it may try to be a reflection to you of what, and it's always reflecting back to you what your vibration is and what your vibration is holding. But it's not trying to teach you anything. So I'll do another video on that to go further into that later. But I really wanted to speak on that because that will really shift, because it makes you think when you hold that kind of belief that this is here to teach me something, then it also makes you feel, it also aids to a diminishing in your vibration. So you don't feel whole and worthy. You feel like you need to get this kind of lesson in order to be complete, in order to graduate. And that's not what's going on at all. It's not here to teach you anything. It's reflecting something to you. And it may be here to help you expand more into yourself, like expand more into the truth of yourself. But it's not here to teach a lesson. So something to ask yourself, right, is what's the message? What is this here to show me about myself? So when you're talking, so when the thyroid issue is, what I ask is, what is this here to show me about myself? What is this here to, what is this reflecting of my energy? And what energy is this asking me to embody more of so that I can shift into the experience that I truly want, which was wellness? And when I asked that question, what it brought into the imagery, so a lot of times the things that I get from the soul are images and feelings. So I'll get kind of a download of a feeling, and I get I'll get an image, I'll get feelings, and I get sometimes a visual. And I got that was what was going on. I was expending too much of my internal resources. I was expending too much of my emotional energy in my relationships, in some of this, and not just personal relationships, but also work relationships, the spaces I was in, etc. I was spinning too much out, and I wasn't getting enough back in. And I remember this very clearly when I used to work with, used to help spiritual entrepreneurs with their business. That was kind of the first manifestation of my work many, many years ago. I was helping spiritual entrepreneurs build thriving businesses, and I worked a lot with people who were speakers. And a lot of the speakers would come to me, people who speak on stages and to hundreds and thousands of people sometimes. And they would say, I really love my message. I love my work. I love speaking. I love talking to people. But when I get off stage, oftentimes I am very drained. And I don't know why. Because when I'm on stage, I can feel the energy. I'm there. I'm loving it. But when I get back to my hotel room, it's like I don't have any energy to do anything. And all I did was speak for 20 minutes. Like that. It wasn't like I ran and did hoops or anything, but all I did, and what I could see, using my intuitive gifts, was that when you have someone, especially if you're a speaker, so for all of you out there who are speakers, this is really important to know. So when you are speaking to people in a large audience, remember, we're all connected to each other. We're all connected to each other. We are one, having the experience of being separate, but we are literally one, right? And so even though you look like you're in this body and Jerome is separate from you, we are literally energetically all connected. And so what we exchange energy back and forth, especially when we're in close proximity to each other. We exchange energy back and forth. And so when you show up to speak to a crowd, that crowd is there to receive from you. They are there to receive from you. All of them. They didn't come to give to you. Like, even if they paid, especially if they're not paying you what your normal fee is, right? Or what you feel energetically you deserve to be getting for the amount of work that you're doing. This especially happens then. But it happens even if you were getting the money that you believe that you deserve for the effort and the benefit that you're giving. So people are there to receive from you. So they are literally drawing energy from you. And it's not like they're trying to do this like to purposely drain you or to do it negatively. It's just energy exchange. We are always exchanging energy. It's just energy. This is how energy exchange happens as energetic beings. And so they're there to receive some wisdom from you. They're there to receive some guidance from you. They're there to receive something. And so and you're there to give. You're showing up to pour out, right? And so if you don't have so it's going to be an imbalance because they are, especially if there's thousands of people there, they are all drawing in from your energy, right? And you've got to do something once that's over to recharge your life force energy, to literally bring more life force energy into your body because you have just spent a large amount of it, right? So what I realized was happening for me. So again, I used to teach people like some techniques for how to charge their energy back after they got off the stage, right? So that they didn't feel completely drained. And I learned a lot of this when I used to do psychic fairs. When I first started out, I used to do psychic fairs, and I loved doing psychic fairs. And but so in the psychic fair, I would be there from like 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. And I would be doing readings for sometimes, 20 people a day, 25 people a day, people coming in, people one after another. And even though I loved the work and would charge me I felt charged to do the work, I didn't understand at the end of the day why I was so tired. And I would see some of my other fellow, the fellow psychics and the readers and things like that. Some of them weren't tired like that, but I was I was literally limping to the house. I was so drained. And some of them would go hang out afterwards and grab a bite, and I just wanted to go to bed. And what I realized, I had a conversation. This is really early on, like in my mid-20s when this was happening. And I had a woman who I really was one of the best mediums I've ever met in my life. She said to me, like, you're going to have to learn how to really manage and nourish your energy and make sure you're not drained. And I didn't really understand that at the time, but I began to learn that. And so one of the things, and it's also one of the reasons why I don't do psychic fairs like that anymore, because it takes a lot of energy for me. But, so what this, going back to this lesson for me, right, was what I realized was my relationships that I had and a lot of the spaces that I was moving in were just like this. People were showing up in my relationships to get from me, and I was giving to them, right? And people were showing up in the spaces that I moved in to get from me, and I was pouring out to them. And there was not another. I wasn't doing anything, and because I wasn't thinking about this at this time, I wasn't putting two and two together that this was. I'm really pouring out because again, I enjoyed being with these people, but I didn't really become aware of the fact that all I'm doing in these spaces is pouring out, and I'm not taking a step back and making sure that I am putting just as much energy back into my being as I just poured out. And if not more than that, which I really needed more than that. So I had to really look at this past year, the relationship, like where was my energy? What was it doing? And so the thyroid issue was literally my body saying, you have depleted your life force energy by living like this. You've been giving too much of your life force energy out, and you're really tired, and you're tired because you don't have any more life force energy in your body to really function well. So you need to some of these relationships you need to complete, not because they're bad people, not because they're negative people, not because they even were coming with the intention to drain me, but they needed help. And I am just not the person that needs to help them at this moment. Like there are other resources they can get. There are other places they can get help from. It can't be from me. It's kind of like, if you have a cup, and this is kind of when I speak about life force energy, I do this illustration. I wish I had brought a cup. I'll have to do another video to do this illustration for you. But it's as if you had a cup, and the life force, and if you fill that cup up with water, the water in that cup represents the life force energy that you need at all times for your body to function at its best, to be healthy, and for your life to function well, for you to be able to manifest what you want, for no dysfunction to show up or disorder or anything like that. This is the amount, especially though for your body. This amount that's in this cup, you need all of this liquid in this cup, right? It can come down a little bit, but if it comes down past a certain point, and that point is really not that much. It's not like if it's halfway down. Like halfway down is way too much. Like even if it just comes down, like just even like an eighth of it down, that's when you have begin to deplete. You start to feel depleted and you feel drained. That's literally why why we use it, drained and depleted, because you are drained of energy. And it's just like a gas gauge. Your body is going to give you an indicator that you're running low on gas. Your life force energy is literally the fuel your body needs to run well. And it's going to give you an indicator that you're running low on fuel. And that's what a lot of illnesses are. Most of the illnesses literally are. You are running really low on life force energy. You've been running low in a while. The way you live your life is draining you of life force energy, and you need to shift your life so that you live a life instead that charges you. So it's kind of like the way it drains you is like, so you have this cup with the life force energy in it, and you have all these straws in there. And like straws for me were like some of my friendships and some of the work stuff that I was doing and some of the networking stuff that I was doing. And everybody's kind of in this straw sucking your life force energy out. And there's nothing putting it back in, right? And so you can see, just like you're running your car and gas and you're not putting in gas in your car is going to start to go towards E. That's what your cup does. And what does your car do? When it starts to go to E, it sends a little indicator light, right, that your gas is low. And if you continue to ignore that light, your car is going to dysfunction. It's going to stop. The same thing happens with our body. Our body is going to send us some type of indicator. Usually it's some type of small illness in the beginning. If you ignore that, it's some type of major illness. If you ignore that, your body's going to stop working altogether. And you're going to transition. So I knew that the thyroid was an indicator and so when I really paid attention to it, I was like, here's the places where I'm running low on my life force energy. And so I had to make changes. I had to make some changes in my friendships. I had to make changes in some of the things I was agreeing to, some of the decisions. I'd be invited to do a lot of things that were requiring a lot of my energy. I had to say no. I had to do a lot of rest. And I'm still like changing and implementing a lot of those changes. But that was one of the biggest lessons in 2018. Again, going back to trusting and surrendering, like trusting in my inner guidance and surrendering to the guidance and wisdom of my soul. And then the other part was, the big lesson was to really take care of my life force energy by making sure that the engagements and the relationships and the events that I am engaged in, and I say yes to, that they're not imbalanced in how I spend my emotional energy, right? So that they're not imbalanced with I'm always pouring out and there's nothing being poured back into me. Even advice, and I think a lot of people, we usually think about expenditure of energy in like some type of physical action, like, you know, you're always over there fixing something or lifting something or moving something. Yes, that is also an expenditure of energy, but when we understand frequency and vibration, your emotional energy can be drained. It's also why you feel drained a lot when, like, you used to take hard tests in school or you had to study real hard. You are expending emotional energy in that event, and it is draining you literally. And so you have to replenish yourself, and not just to go and but the work, by the way, is not to just continue to drain yourself and then run and replenish yourself back again. Is to really stop doing the things that are draining you, right? To get those straws out of your cup so that nothing's sucking your life force energy out of you. So I had to really like reevaluate some relationships I've been and be in the process of completing some of them, to draw back from some of them that I didn't, that I knew that I wanted to still continue or maintain. I needed to draw back the amount of time I spent in those relationships, and how that relationship worked. Like, and to say, hey, I can't talk about issue with you today. I don't have the emotional energy to spend to fix an issue for you today. If you want to just hang out and laugh and talk about something fun, I'm here for that. But other than that, I can't do it. Right? And it doesn't mean that I'm not available for my friends when they're going through something tough, but it means that I can only go. But it means that more importantly, I need to know when I can give that type of energy and when I can, and that I don't need to be giving that energy all the time. Right? That's an occasional thing. Right? If you have a friend that is always sad, who is always going through drama, who is always going through dysfunction, that is a imbalanced relationship because you are constantly trying to fix. Or if they're asking, specifically because my friends ask me. Like, I don't go in and try to do something that nobody's asking me, but they ask me, what do I need to do to shift my vibration around this? What do I need to do how can I shift this? So I had to say, I just can't. I cannot. You have to get your advice, you have to get your guidance and help from other spaces and not from me. Because I can't, if all of my spaces, and again, speaking to healers, because I see this a lot with healers, if every space that you move in, you are giving out, then there's no space where you're receiving. And this is the balance of life. You've got to, to whatever degree that you're giving, you have got to have a balance of receiving. You've got to have the exact same amount coming in that's going out. The exact same amount, right? If really probably more receiving than you're giving out. But that's the balance, and we're just not taught that balance very well. But that's the balance. That's the balance of energy. That's the balance of money. That's the balance, which money is a physical reflection of energy. But that's really what it is, right? And so that was my big lesson for 2018, really learning how to manage the exchange and the flow of my life force energy, particularly in my relationships and in the spaces that I move in. And to really be aware that, wow, I was always giving out. In every space that I showed up in, I was giving out. And there wasn't any place where I was receiving back. And so I had to shift that balance. And when I began to do that, my thyroid began to heal. And so again, I'm not just, I don't just speak this stuff from books. I literally am sharing what I know and what I'm able to replicate in my life. Like when you make the shifts in your energy, when you make the shifts in your life and then the shifts in your energy, that the illness is there to get your attention to, it begins to heal because there's no longer a reason for it to be there. The thyroid was there because I was spending too much. The thyroid issue was there because I was spending too much energy out and I was drained and depleted and I was tired. When I was no longer drained, depleted, and tired, and I was no longer giving my energy out like that in order to be drained, depleted, and tired, it had no reason anymore to be there. So I just wanted to give you a little bit of that. Those are my 2 lessons for 2018. I hope you learned something through those for your own life. So I just wanted really quickly to kind of give you a brief summation of what you can expect from me in 2019. So I said before in 2018, I had to step back. And so I didn't offer a lot. I didn't do a lot of live events. I didn't do any online classes or anything like that. I just really went within and really clarified what the message is that I wanted to share around self-love and transformation and healing and all of that. And so some good stuff is coming because of that. And I've got a lot of clarity and I cannot wait to jump into this year and with both feet. I mean, I'm already here and with both feet in, but to jump into all the stuff that is to be released. So first things first, just to give you a heads up, there will be a lot of changes happening and you'll probably see them on my page over the next few months. First thing is I am dropping the name Soul Medicine Man. I am dropping the name Soul Medicine Man. I got guidance to do that, and I'm really clear about why that is for me. And one of the reasons is one of the big things that I am most interested in, and that my work really is about, and that my message really is about, is in helping you have a higher experience, a deeper, more delicious experience of well-being. That's always what I've been most interested in. That's what my journey on my deathbed, when I had my near-death experience, that was literally the question that I had. Like, how do you experience true well-being? How do you really be well in your body and live well in your life? And my healing journey that followed my near-death experience was all about that. It was literally a masterclass in well-being, what it takes and what it doesn't take. And so I'm dropping the Soul Medicine Man, even though, I loved it. I think it represented me at the time, but I'm kind of re-embodying something I used to go by before, but I had dropped because I really I didn't understand it as well as I understand it now. And that's well-being Sherpa, because that's really what my work is. I'm a guide. I am a spiritual guide here to guide you along the path of loving yourself into the well-being you desire for your life and the wellness you desire for your body. So you'll be hearing me call myself the well-being Sherpa, just like Sherpas in Tibet who lead you, which are guides who lead you up the mountain, up the Himalayas. They're guides that know the way, and you hire them to help you get to the point that you want to get to because they know the way and they walk the way with you. That's exactly what I'm doing. Whatever well-being you want in your life, whatever wellness you want in your body, I'm a guide that knows the way, and I know the way is love, is to love yourself, and I know how to do that and what that takes. So that's the first thing to tell you. So you'll be seeing some changes around that. A new website is coming. There'll be some changes to my website here in a few months. So you'll hear that. You'll hear me announce that more when that gets nearer. I'm finally going to get a newsletter together. I think I'm actually going to send my first newsletter out next week. I did not do a newsletter all 2017, so I apologize for all of you who signed up for my newsletter and you never got anything. It was just because I was in this mode of really doing my own inner work, as well as really trying to figure out what the core root of my message really was. And I knew I wasn't going to have a lot of events, so I didn't want to be sending you an email every week that didn't have any juice to it for your life, and also wasn't announcing any event where you can go dive in deeper. But I will be having a lot of stuff coming up this year, so I am going to be having, my newsletter is going to come out. So if you haven't already joined my newsletter, please go do so. You can do so on my website. It's free. I don't spam you, and you'll probably get a newsletter from me maybe twice a month. So you can just kind of just be aware of that. The other thing is I have bought for myself for Christmas. I bought this really nice camera. I bought a lighting kit. I bought all this stuff because I'm going to be vlogging. I'm going to be sharing weekly. I'm going to be doing some videos sharing a lot about the wisdom I gained along my healing story, really talking a lot more about life force energy and loving yourself and how to trust in yourself and how to really tune into the vibration of your higher self. All of this, we're going way deep, so you'll be seeing that coming up real soon. I'll be doing a lot of live events around the country. I'll be going around several different cities this year and doing some what I call worth shops. So they're not really workshops, they're worth shops, reconnecting you to the energy of your worthiness. So I'll be doing a lot of that. So be watching out for that. The first one is going to be coming in the spring, so you'll be hearing a heads up about that in a few weeks. Also, I'm really excited about this. I'm going to be offering a 6-week online class this year about beginning the miraculous practice of loving yourself. So I get asked a lot, like, how do you really love yourself? How do you start to do it? And my journey really showed me there's really 4 cornerstones. There's really 4 major kind of practices that make up what loving yourself really is. I'm going to go dive deep into what those actually are and how you can start that, as well as answer some of your questions in this class around that process. I'm really excited about that. That's coming out in the spring, but I will be announcing that probably about a month so that you can start registering for that in about a month. And in the fall, I'm going to offer my first retreat. So this is going to be a small, intimate retreat, small group retreat. So talking about 10 to 12 people only. It's going to be 3 days with the optional fourth day if you want to stay over and work with me one-on-one. Some people want some one-on-one time with me. That's going to be available. But this retreat is going to go really deep. We're going to dive into a lot of the topics that I talk about: taking care of your life force energy, loving yourself, healing yourself, transforming your life, manifesting what you want, all of that, plus all the kind of mystical stuff that I don't get to share over the computer. Some of the mystical rituals that I have. We'll do some energy healing with crystal and Tibetan bowls. I'll teach you how to clear your chakras. We're going to do some nature stuff because it's in a beautiful retreat center in the middle of nature. So be watching out for that. That's going to come in the fall. I will open up kind of registration and start to talk about that in late spring. And a podcast. I have a podcast coming out. Probably will be in about a month when you'll see the first episode. So the podcast is about really conversations about what it takes to really be well and live well as a soul having a human experience here. I'm going to be sharing not only some things from my journey and my story, but I'll also be having conversations with other spiritual leaders and healers and teachers from around the world who have some type of wisdom or some type of life experience that can directly speak to that. That can help us have a deeper experience of well-being in our lives and wellness in our bodies. So I'm really excited about that. So there's a lot coming out for me this year. There's even more. I just don't want to take up all this time kind of giving all of that to have to leave some surprises for you. But be watching out for all of that. There's really good stuff coming out this year, and some of it will be coming very soon. It's right as soon as you blink your eyes, some of it will start. So just be watching out for that, and know that there's be some changes coming pretty soon. Again, I'm going to be dropping the title Soul Medicine Man, and all of that will be happening. So just so I love you. I am so glad you all have stuck with me through this journey, even though sometimes you may not have understood what all is this guy doing. Is he just online sharing stuff, or are we ever going to be able to get some benefits from him, or books or classes or something? Yes, and yes. It's all coming. We're going to go deep. And I am the most passionate about and the most interested in helping you really take the miraculous journey of loving yourself into well-being, because that's where it leads to every time. The path to well-being is self-love. The path to wellness is self-love. It's not just green juice. It's not burning incense. It's not all of those things, although those things can help. But the path to wellness and well-being is to love yourself. And I'm going to be doing a lot more this year that will help you see exactly how, and help you see how to do it, how to implement it for yourself. So thank you all for joining me tonight. I will see you very soon. Keep a lookout for the changes and some of the announcements. This year is going to be very, very juicy. I feel it all in my body, in my bones, not just for me, but for all of you. There's a shift in the energy field. There is more things happening, and it's much easier for us to manifest the good that we not only desire, but that we inherently and infinitely deserve. So see you in a few days. Much love, you guys. Take care of yourself. And as always, I love you, and love is always the way. Bye.